This video contains gratuitous use of profanity and uncomfortable pauses to compensate for lack of professionalism and original thought. Viewer discretion advised.
Show with your host, Hassel and Monster. Monster, how you doing this morning?
It's not been too bad, and we're actually still on schedule. I am still reporting from on location, as you can tell by the background. But and I know you got a background set up right now too, just because your house has been taken over by Christmas.
Christmas has struck the Hassel household. It's not a happy day.
But other than that, nothing big to report. It's just a Sunday morning here in wonderful Missouri. But with that, before we kick into the show too much, I'm going to go ahead and thank our sponsor like usual, The Zone Collectibles. You can find them on the internet at thezonecollectibles@gmail.com and on Facebook at The Zone Collectibles or in their store at 305 Main Street, Tifton, Georgia. Visit them for all your nerdy needs from Legos, toys, trading cards, games, and more. Help them support the local artist community by supporting their cause of bringing unity through community. Fandoms unite. And with that, I think we're ready to go straight into Geek Week. I know we've got a lot of content this week on our focus topic, so which is a good thing because I don't have a whole lot of a Geek Week myself, but I'll go ahead and kick us off into Geek Week if you're good with that, Hassel.
I go right ahead, bro.
Yeah, because mine is real short, and I do want to preempt the first of mine here because we just got confirmation of someone who's a childhood hero to a lot of us that passed away. JDF, Jason David Frank, the original Green Ranger from Power Rangers, passed away sadly yesterday. Today it was confirmed. I haven't seen full calls or anything like that. Those details haven't been released yet. But just want to share condolences and well wishes to his family during this time.
Incredibly big blow to a lot of people. So power protection.
Yeah, and he was pretty young. I think he's either 49 or 50, something like that. Yeah. So, but with that, let's not dwell on the negative too long. We'll go straight into the rest of Geek Week. And for me, mine was slow. The only thing I've really done is read Avengers Operation Galactic Storm. I've been reading that while I've been out on assignment. I had the trade paperback with me, and I made it all the way through it. Still really good. Probably the best Avengers crossover out there. But you could tell that the Avengers books were not the same as the X titles, where everything was pretty well in tune and cohesive. Because when you read the individual issues, like the solo title issues of the crossover, you could tell that those folks had no idea what was going on, other than they were told, put this part in your story and you could have a few pages for your stuff, because they would have people's names wrong. They would have people drawn weirdly. Like you see a scene with Quasar with a face mask on while he's in space, and I'm like, this dude is protected by an interstellar aura and stuff. He can survive in space. Why does he need a face mask? And then they would just name off people wrong and say like their first name, but they would give the person the wrong first name. I was like, wow, they really struggled with this, but overall still good. Just not the same as reading an X-Men crossover from that time period. And other than that, the only other thing I've done besides work was kick off Titan Season 4 on HBO Max. I watched the first 4 episodes. It's okay. That show has never been great to me, but it's had some good points. But right now, currently, this season reminds me a lot of the first one. It's just kind of very dark, just for the sake of being dark. And the storyline seems okay, but it's like they're trying to do stuff in the episodes to make it seem, I don't know, more adultish than it really has to be, just for the sake of doing it. But that is all I have done during my Geek Week, so I will pass the baton over to you, sir.
That show I tried to get into it, and there's certain things about it just like, ooh, it seems forced in some places. I guess was my thing. But my Geek Week, was fairly mediocre. They kick it off last, we're recording on Sunday again, so kicked my Geek Week off last Sunday with the Yellowstone season premiere. It was fucking just wild as usual. and I had a great time watching it, and look forward to watching Yellowstone again tonight. I did go in on the Terrifier 2 Blu-ray collectible from Walmart exclusive, so I kind of would have been remiss not to have touched on that there. Apparently, according to 3 of my employees, my Geek Week was finished out with my triumphant return to SmackDown, kicking Roman Reigns' ass because Kevin Owens returned Friday night. So
I saw something about that. I just haven't looked too much into it.
yeah, he showed back up, and which he got a pretty big pop, and he went there, and I figured they would just feed him to Roman, but no, he put the stunner on him, ended the show strong, and so as I had to work yesterday, unfortunately, I had an employee come and said, "Man, I seen you last night." And I was like, "No, you didn't see me last night. I went home, dog." He's like, "No, man, I seen you last night." I said, "Where the hell you see me at?" He said, "Man, you should have thought that Roman Reigns." I was like, "Gotcha." But with that being said, I did watch the AEW. So I caught the AEW pay-per-view last night, somewhat. A good friend of mine, he gave me his login, and I was able to watch some matches from my phone. The Elite returned. They had a pretty good match with the Death Triangle. Now they're supposed to do a best of 7. I'm not sure about that right there. A best of 7 6-man seems a little much for my taste. But they had a good match. Soraya, she made her in-ring return for the first time in 5 years, and it looked just like she hadn't been in the ring in 5 years. Because even Dr. Baker couldn't tell her through this match. It was brutal.
But I see so many people posting this morning how she returned and she won her first match in 5 years, but nobody's saying how the match went. They're just saying she did.
She won, unfortunately, because I mean they had to put her over and protect their investment, and they're going to go the CM Punk route with her because that's the first thing after the match is, well, what's next? And JR's like, titles, Tony, titles. And I'm like, oh, God, no. She looked fucking awful in the ring. Her timing was terrible. And there was a few times you could tell Dr. DMD was trying her best to kind of wing her through it, but it was not much hope. That was actually pretty bad. The rest of the card was somewhat so. I will say that the last Outlaw Jeff Jarrett's match and the little tag match they had with Sting and Darby Allin, that was actually really good. Sting continues to amaze me at the things this man is doing at 63 fucking years old. He is taking more risks now. And go check our Instagram out. I shared a few things. He takes more risks now than he ever has in his entire career. And I'm just thinking, my God, the WWF has you, what was that, 8 years ago now?
Yeah, something like that.
You know he could have been really just throwing out some damn great matches if you had to put him in there with Seth Rollins who injured him. Or they utilized him.
Yeah, I take a different look at that, though. Yes, you're right. He could have done something if he hadn't got injured. So that I agree with you on. But the other stuff, like him doing the dives and stuff he's doing, I'm like, dude, you didn't do that when you were in your prime. That was not your style of match. Why are you doing it now? Your legacy is already cemented. You already are a Hall of Famer. You're already a legend, an icon. Why would you do that stuff that could potentially kill or paralyze you at this point? At your age, especially.
Route. He's going the route of the funker. The only thing I can think of is this play. He'll be the only three-way Hall of Famers. He'll be in the TNA, WWE, and the AEW Hall of Fame or something.
Yeah, but he could have never wrestled a single match in the AEW and just been on contract and still been a Hall of Famer to them.
Yeah.
I worry he's going to end up hurting himself at his age doing this, and something seriously going to go wrong.
He is throwing some shit out there. Which I will say, it was a spot in the match. I was super impressed. This Satnam Singh, I mean, he's been walking out there as a giant son of a bitch for the last month or so, and he just hasn't done anything other than look like a big caveman. Because he is very off-putting facially.
Yeah.
He is very, very off-putting. But they actually done a pretty sweet spot last night. Darby Allin goes up. You know his move is the stupidest shit ever. The coffin drop. He just falls backwards. It's dumb as shit. I hate it. But he goes to jump off this ledge onto Satnam Singh, who is standing there, and he just catches this motherfucker midair. I'm talking about a good 15, 20-foot drop. He just catches this little worm mid-air, totes him, and then just throws him, like twisting like an airplane and throws him on the damn ramp. I'm like, it's actually a pretty cool spot right there. They done pretty good. Jarrett looked in great shape, probably the best shape that I've seen him since his WCW run. The last one. He's been hitting the iron, maybe the supplements, but he's been hitting the iron and nothing else. And then the main event, MJF finally gets the shine. He gets the belt with the help of William Regal. I think we all knew that was going to happen, or at least if you're a real wrestling fan, you knew Regal was the devil that you didn't know. It was coming. And it makes more sense for Regal to be there with MJF being a real son of a bitch versus smiling and nodding, which seems so forced with him and Mox. That I give it a good, what I got to see of it, probably a good B+ show. So that rounds out my Geek Week.
Besides your surprise run-in on SmackDown, that is.
Yeah, you know.
That's a quick turnaround. That's a quick turnaround for you to get there and then back to work the next day.
You know what? I was told I just moonlight as a receiving manager. So you know what? You got to put the Federation first. Got to. So I will say, if you haven't seen the press conference after Full Gear with MJF, go out of your way to watch it. It totally redeems that bullshit CM Punk did, and it's only about 2.5 minutes. But
I saw his a little bit. Yeah,
don't watch it with kids in the room. He talks. He makes me blush. Put it this way. Said, we will move on to our focus topics. We've been teasing you guys with this shit for a week, so it's here.
Yeah, so let's I will go through first and say some of the, I don't want to say ground rules, but some of the criteria requirements we set forth for this one. So we're going to talk about our different holy grails of collecting. We decided this was stuff that was our grails, sentimental reason. And I know the original, I think, request was like, I don't know if it was for us specifically or just in general, like the most expensive things out there sort of thing. We didn't go that route just because I don't know how you really do that, because you're bound to miss something. But we decided to go what was important to us. We're going to share our reason for it, just like we always do. Now, if you want to share your comments on some of our grails or talk about some of yours, please feel free to do that in the comments. We'd love to hear from you. But with that, before we get too far into it, a couple of things we said is that we were going to do a minimum of 5 items that we own that we consider our holy grails. And for us, these are things that we said we wouldn't give these up for any reason, short of you got to give up everything you own. This is the stuff we would fight to find a way to keep, right?
This like this or the family album, we might be grabbing this on the way out the burning door.
Yeah. Yeah, and these are things that, we have to already own. It's not something that we've pre-ordered or expecting to get here. We have to already have it in our hands for what we own. But we also said we wanted to share some things that maybe we don't own, but we do desperately want. And maybe we said, I think, at least 3 items of that. We may do more than 5 or 3. That's not a limit. I was just saying we're going to do at least this many of them.
It was a shooting ground.
Yeah. And for these ones we want to own, these are things that have to somewhat already be existing. Maybe it's a pre-order, maybe it's something that we're waiting to be made, but we've heard confirmation it is. Nothing that is just like way out there that we're never going to possibly see. That we're just hoping. Like, I'd love to have a Millennium Falcon, but I don't think one's going to be made in my lifetime.
Let's face it.
Not a function.
They are obtainable and unobtainable.
Yeah, these are obtainable things that may be, being made at some point. And one other thing to mention on some of the stuff that we do own before I get too far away before we actually start into them, I should say, these can be individual pieces, or it can be several pieces that go together to create a collection that, I don't see how I could have one of these things without the other.
That's kind of how all mine are, honestly.
Same thing with the wants too. They may overlap to the wants to say, I have this part of a collection, but I'm missing this one key piece, and maybe that's one of your wants. And they could both fall into both of them, because I do think that one of mine, actually, I said, these are things that I already own, but I need some more to go with it. So they're a holy grail I already have, but there's some more grails I need to add to it as well. But with that, I think I've explained it pretty well in depth. Hopefully it makes enough sense to everybody out there what we're doing, but we'll go straight into it. And Hassel, I did only have 5 for my own ones. I thought about doing more. But I stopped myself at 5 just so we didn't because we do have somewhat of a time limit today, so I didn't want to take forever because I knew if I did that, I'd keep going until I got to the nitty gritty.
That'd be very easy to do. We both have enormous collections, and like you said, what we mentioned is probably neither collection the most valuable. It's just
Yeah.
some of a lot of my shit's sentimental.
So I said I did do 5. I will give 2 runner-ups in mine as well, and I'll kick it off with that. I'll give you my 2 runner-ups that I didn't include entirely in here. Yeah, so let's start with what we already own. How about that? And I'll give you 2 runner-ups in that. But honestly, right now, for me, the runner-up stuff, there's a couple of collections I've started building. The Power Rangers Lightning collection, I have so many pieces of it. I have everything they've made so far that's actually been released, and I've got like 10 or 15 items that just shipped from Big Bad, and half of them are Power Ranger stuff because for some reason, everything for January through March they showed up at Big Bad already.
You know, I got hit about a month and a half ago, Star Wars this way.
Yeah.
Like a lot of the Black collection, I want to say I had like 8 pieces, just all dropped into my...
All that Obi-Wan stuff is already out there. And that stuff wasn't due until like February, March.
Well, yeah, I had the Obi-Wan stuff. I had the Palpatine. I had Grand Moff Tarkin. I had the Book of Boba Fett stuff, the Mandalorian stuff. Like just everything just was like holy shit.
Well, it's like that. Like I got a notification and I shipped my pile of loot that 2 of my Lightning collection figures that I ordered specifically from them were in. I was like, okay, that's the last thing I'm expecting right now. I hit the ship button. Well, then I looked later that evening while I was doing laundry at the hotel and I was just killing time. I looked and I was like, wait a minute. They have a whole lot of everything that I had ordered from Hasbro Pulse was already there. Like the Street Fighter crossover figures were already there for Power Ranger. I was like, wait a minute. So I went in and ordered like another 12 or 13 items and had a separate shipment going out later that night. Just because I was like, I'm not putting in a pile of loot. There's enough here to go ahead and ship it. But stuff just came in early. I wasn't expecting that. But
I gotta say, you have the makings of a great country song there. Doing laundry at the hotel. That sounds like it could be a Toby Keith right there.
It feels exactly like it sounds. It's depressing, especially when they charge you $1.75 to wash and $1.50 to dry.
Holy shit!
Yeah.
Wow.
But anyway, that was my first runner-up. My second runner-up, probably my masterpiece collection. And when I say that, I say the entire collection because I didn't include the entire collection in here. I did pick out one or two items from my masterpiece sets, but man, the Transform Masterpiece collection I've got built from the American first few seasons is really nice, and it'd be hard to give that up. I would have to pick and choose key pieces to keep, but overall, I think it's one of the nicer collections I have. So,
well, I mean, how would you single out which would be the best, anyways? I mean, you have a wonderful collection there, right?
I will say this: I did single out one single best one to put in here. Yeah, but we'll get to it when we get there. But that was my runner-up, so I will let you do a few of them now because I don't know how many you actually have.
I actually kept it simple. I got 5, but they're kind of grouped together. So opening up, I got my autograph, my key issues, and my CGC issues for my comic books. I took a few pictures of it. It's not everything. It's just, a handful of stuff. Because I realized a long time ago, I can't get every issue of Amazing Spider-Man.
Yeah.
It's just not feasible. Not an affordable range or X-Men or, so on. So for me, I wanted like key issues. So I kind of went through getting like first appearances, getting just key things I remember from my childhood. And then I kind of moved into autographs. So certain autographs of certain people that you have to have. Like for me as a Spider-Man fan, I had to have Mark Bagley. I had to have Bendis. I had to have Stan Lee. And then, I got some other things. Like I had Chris Claremont on HP #1, just certain things.
Right.
But some of the pieces I enjoy the best are I have, the Amazing Spider-Man 238, first appearance of Hobgoblin. Pretty high grade, just because Hobgoblin was one of my more favorite villains from my childhood. I have Marvel Spotlight #5 CGC. It's not a very high grade, but ironically, I've seen this book going still about 1,800 bones on eBay, even at a low grade. I don't know why. And I was kind of baffled because, when I bought it, I was super upset when it came in as a lower grade. It was like a 3.5 or something like that. And I was like, oh, shit, dude. But even though that grade is going fairly high, probably the piece I love the best is my Amazing Spider-Man 101. First appearance of Morbius with the 6-armed Spider-Man and a sign by Stan Lee. So I bought the book that day, got a pretty decent grade, got to meet Stan Lee that day. Meeting Stan, while it was an amazing honor, it was not as memorable, unfortunately. But I mean, that wasn't his fault. It was just his handlers were dicks. And I think anybody that met him his last few years could attest to probably the same. But I mean, that was some of my Grail stuff right here. And like I said, they're all kind of together, but it's things that it would certainly have to be a dire time for me to part with.
Yeah. So I will go ahead too and share one of mine, because I had some of my signed books, and I have a lot of them. I have different people who sign stuff. Like Paul Levis did Legion of Superheroes forever. I got a signed Legion of Superheroes. I got Fabian Nicieza signed the Scott and Jean wedding issue of X-Men. But in particular, I've got two of them that stand out a lot to me, and one of them being my Stan Lee signature, because it was Stan Lee. I mean, I don't really have to explain that a whole lot more, but it's an X-Men book. It's got Cyclops on the cover. It's not even one he wrote. It was a Chris Claremont issue, but it was my favorite X-Men on the cover, and Stan signed it. So I was like, all right, that's a must-have for me. And then the other one is I have a 0 Hour. The last issue of that was a completely white cover, because it counted down from 5 to 0. And on that cover is actually, because Green Lantern was the main villain of that, Hal Jordan is Parallax, but the original creator of Green Lantern, the original artist, one of the original two creators, I should say, the original artist, Martin Nodell, actually drew a lantern on the front of it and signed it. He drew Alan Scott's lantern, he signed it. He made the whole cover, real nice and pretty with his signing and his coloring and stuff of it. And like, dude, being a huge Green Lantern fan and having a guy who created Alan Scott, the design for him, actually draw that out on there is a huge honor.
And he's such a sweetheart of a person to meet in real life too. I remember meeting him, he was just a pleasure.
Yeah, he was. So that was the first one out of my 5. Was I wanted to share that while you were doing your signed books and your CGCs, because falls in the same category.
One of the things with collections like ours is such that you forget you have pieces, or you have them in possession, but you don't know where the fuck they are. Because like, when I was just kind of thumbing through some things, and my collection right now is in several different locations due to the enormity of it and just the way that my house is set up at the moment. But like, I was trying my best to find the first Stan Lee autograph I got, because you actually got it for me with the first appearance of Nova in Amazing Spider-Man.
Yeah, and I did that just out of pure spite, just because it was Nova to annoy you.
But I can't find that book for shit, and I know it's still in my possession. But it's just when you start having collections like we run into, it's very hard to keep tabs on where all your shit is, no matter how well you think you're documenting at the time. Because I like a lot of my long boxes, I have lists of titles there, but then it's like there'll be a few issues thrown in there that I just didn't. So it's a goose chase.
So I'm going to say this, and this is an aside. So 2 asides, actually. Number 1, Hassel did provide pictures of all his stuff. I don't have pictures of all mine just because I am on location and I don't have it. So look at the end of the show. At the end of the show, I'm going to put all of Hassel's pictures in so you can go back and see these things. That'll kind of be our closing out credits for this episode, just to show off just stuff from your collection. The other thing is, you talked about having it all recorded and remembering what you have. I am a master of spreadsheets. I like to keep spreadsheets of all my inventory of what I have pre-ordered, when it hits, so I know how to budget it. And I have, and my external drive that had all that on it was like a 1 terabyte external drive. When my computer that I had recently crashed, it was plugged into it and it completely wiped that external drive. So when I go home, because I haven't been home in several weeks, so I can't really sit down and recreate this without looking at it all and knowing what's there. I have to recreate all that. Now, I don't keep every single issue that I buy of a book in that database, only if I have one that I'm missing or some that I skipped an issue or missed some issues and I need to pick them up at like a convention. I'll keep those. But now all of my signed books, all of my collectibles that surround the house, whether it's toys or title belts or whatever, all of that was in there, and it's all gone.
Ooh.
So that was a bit of a killer. I even had to go to the point of encrypting that external drive just to try and protect it and other stuff, but it just completely wiped it.
Let me ask you this: when it went down, did you feel out the acclaim? Did you just grab your ankles and say, "Send me, Daddy-O"?
No, when it went down, I just looked at it. I unplugged it. I threw it on the hotel bed behind me because I wasn't going to throw it on the floor and break it, obviously. And then I just got mad and put it back in the case and put it up later that evening.
See,
I let it sit there. I let it sit there while I went and got food just because I was so disgusted with it.
I am a destruction man myself, so yeah, I can. Ooh.
But now after that, we can go right back to what we were sharing. That's why it took me a while to figure out what I was going to share, because I was like, well, I could have looked through my database and saw what I had. Now I have to go off memory because I clear my phone of pictures a lot of times too, not to have too much data taking up space on this. So I didn't even have a lot of pictures in it. I was like, son of a bitch.
So you now know what kind of collection Monster is dealing with. He has a database.
No, that's just Monster being a nerd.
So what's your next batch, Monster? What you got going?
My next thing is I put in my title belts. And before, when we talked about, we asked this question on the show once as a nerd out, what's the 2 or 3 things that you don't have that you would like to have, that you don't have one of at all? And mine was a title belt. I didn't have one, always wanted one. And at this point, I've gotten up to about 7 of them now because I went a little happy buying them this year. But I couldn't, it'd be hard. There's some of those I could, like my spinner belt, I got it just because it was really cheap. But I could give that up or something. But even my AEW belt, as much as I like it, is you can tell it's a third party one, and it's not bad, but it's not the nicest third party one I've seen either. I mean, it's nice and it looks good, but it's thinner plates and stuff. They're only 2mm plates, and I'm like, that's not bad, but the leather on it's not the best. But some of the ones I've gotten after that though, I don't know if I could give them up. I'm not a huge fan of that big WWE style belt with just the W's on it, but that blue one I've got of it is extremely nice. And but the 2 that I couldn't do without would be my tag team title belt, because that's one of my favorites, and it's the old school WWE tag team title look. Now it is a third party, but it's got 4mm thick plates. It's heavy as crap, and it's got really nice leather.
That is amazing.
Yeah. So I got it and my Winged Eagle that I got, which is an official WWE release one. So it's not as nice as your Winged Eagle, but it's still the belt that I really wanted to start with. So, but yeah, my title belts. I had to put them all together because I don't know how I'd break the setup. But if I had to, I could take 1 or 2 out. But I couldn't give them all up. There's no way.
Well, since we're kind of on similar trajectories here, I'm gonna just share my second and third because they're so similar. And obviously, the second one was my championship title belt. So I only have 2, unlike Monster, who likes to be a boss and have many. But I have the first version of the Undisputed Championship, and I have a shit ton of autographs on it. And yes, I know true collectors are hitting me with well, that guy never won that title. No fucking shit. However, to me, it's memory wise because I went to, me and Mr. Mittens, we went to a con it was the NWA con up in Charlotte, North Carolina. It was a year after Ric Flair retired, first time, with his match at Shawn Michaels, that me and Big Rob actually were at. So, to me, it has sentimental value. We went up to the Charlotte con, and I had my title belt with me, and, I got Ric Flair and all of the 4 horsemen to sign the belt. And when I say sentimental, it's probably not worth shit. Just because, 10 years ago, when Ric Flair got broke, shortly after that,
yeah,
he was doing signings in grocery stores, for God's sake. So, what, his autograph is probably, even though he's arguably the most notable world champion of the last 50 years, since he's 16-time world champion when it mattered, it's probably worthless. But to me, it meant a lot because, I got to meet a guy that I've watched since I was knee high to a grasshopper, and he was very nice in person. I'll say that. But the belt has all the 4 horsemen who were all super nice. Killer Bees, I got to share a beer with at the bar. That was pretty cool. Got the Nasty Boys. I got Bobby Lashley on the belt. Lance Russell, Abdullah the Butcher, Little Guido, Balls Mahoney, several ECW original guys. But so, I mean, yeah, these are guys that never won the title, but do you fucking got their autograph on the title belt?
Well,
one of a kind.
Well, that's the thing, getting all of them on there. I mean, even if they didn't hold it, it's still all in one place. Where are you going to buy a belt that has all those things in one place?
I mean, yeah, exactly. Just the 4 horsemen themselves. I mean, I got Arn, Tully, Ole, Barry Windham, J.J. Dillon, and Ric Flair all on the same title.
Surprised you got Ole to sign it. Yeah.
He was, oh man, he was probably the highlight of meeting that weekend, honestly, because he was just such a salty old bastard, and I loved it because I'm salty as fuck too. Moving on to my other title though, is my Winged Eagle. It was probably the true grail of my grails, just because the Winged Eagle was, you know, what I always wanted as a child, and in my teen years, you know, as an adult. And I got it signed by my favorite wrestler of all time, Bret the Hitman Hart. So it would be something that I probably have to look at it in a child if my house were burning and decide which do I grab first. So, and moving into the next thing is some of my autograph memorabilia. I have a pair of autographed Bret Hart glasses like he used to put on the kids' heads in a shadow box. And the other is I have a framed. I have Hulk Hogan and the Ultimate Warrior, both autographed in the same frame. And I know a lot of people are like, well, why would you put them in the same frame? That match at WrestleMania, I mean, they just go hand in hand. And if you're a child of the 80s, 90s wrestling, regardless of what they did later in life, you don't hear their music hit and don't automatically revert back to an 8-9-year-old thinking about the Hulkster coming to the ring with the good old American flag, gonna fuck up Sergeant Slaughter or some dastardly villain, and you don't hear those few notes of the Warrior and not just go, oh man, you don't get taken back. I mean, whether he's a terrible wrestler or not, he just the spectacle of his ignorance. So to me, that was some of my stuff, and I have some other wrestling autographs. Don't be wrong. I mean, I got Jake Snake, Sergeant Slaughter, several other legends. But these are just some of my favorites.
You know, you mentioned something too, and I was going to mention it, but I didn't want to interrupt you. You talked about having, you know, the difference in the dollar value of the signatures and versus the sentimental, but you know, really that's always going to be the case unless you have something like the CGC books or like the Stan book I have, and it's a couple of others where they come with a certificate of authenticity from a credible source saying this is that person's signature. That's always going to sell for more because they have that. Now, if you want to sell these others and say, hey, because I have these and they are signed, they're worth more, you'd have to go through a rigorous process of getting their signature checked by an expert who's in handwriting who can check it against signatures that person has been credited with signing elsewhere and all. So it's never going to be the same, especially if you get it personalized too. Like I have one that I had personalized to my son because we were supposed to go get something signed by one of the original Power Ranger actors, and you know, we both loved that, but he got sick with COVID and he couldn't go, but I could. So I went and had it signed and made out to him on that one. So I was like, that's never good because not too many people have his name. So that's not like it's going to hold as much value.
That was a rookie mistake I made when I first met Kane Hodder, probably about 20 years ago at a signing in Valdosta. I had a Sideshow collectible piece, you know, autographed by him. And the first thing I did, I had that in a comic actually. It was the Jason versus Jason Hayes comic. And the first thing I do is the figure is to David.
Yeah.
And at the time I was married. So the comic is to David and bitch ass ex-wife. And you know, then look at it later, I was like, oh, I got divorced. So it's like, I'm gonna wipe my ass with this comic. And then like literally it was a few years ago, I had somebody at my house who was a huge art collector. And I was just showing him some things, and he said, man, he said, I'll give you about $400 for this Sideshow piece right now that didn't have your name on it. And I got a thing, and I was like, fuck.
Yeah.
Don't ever do that again. So I don't get anything personalized anymore, unfortunately.
I think I had a couple of them personalized and some that weren't. Most of mine weren't. The ones that I did was I have I know I have at least one, if not two, from Jason David Frank, personalized, and it's the Figure Arts figures, which are some of my absolute favorite Power Ranger figures I have. They didn't make my list, unfortunately, just because I stopped short. But
Not either, and I have them autographed as well, but I didn't.
I think he made those two out. I think he made the green and white one both out to me, and then the other stuff I had him sign. It was just his signature, and then I have one from Austin St. John, like I said, that I had signed to the kid just because I wanted to have that one done for him because he couldn't go and he was really upset about it.
And just to clarify, the reason I don't have them personalized anymore is not because I plan on selling anything, because I don't. That's the whole purpose of what we're talking about. It's the fact that one day when I do croak,
yeah,
this is kind of my gift to my children.
It's a nest egg.
It's a nest egg for them to have a nice life. They're going to be incredibly hard to sell because they're already not going to know what they're selling anyways. So, I don't want to take advantage of it. I don't want them to have a valuable piece. That could have been something.
Same thing here. I mean, if I croak, Oren's going to get it and he can do whatever he wants to with it, sell it, keep it, whatever. Now, most likely he's going to keep it because he's into the same stuff I am, except for maybe some of it.
Hands there. That's going to continue to gain value.
But with that, so we don't hold up too long, I'll go ahead into my third one since you did your second and third one there. My third one would be my Superpowers collection, the 1980s Superpowers DC Comics ones. Yeah. I have almost all of the original Justice League. I'm missing 4 members. And those 4 members did not make my top 3 list only because they're so dang expensive for that old, yes, it's an old toy, and so it should be expensive, but they are so expensive for those figures, and they're so hard to come by that I'm like, I don't know if I'll ever fill those holes. So they may not be the most attainable. Maybe 1 or 2 of them. One of them I know is ridiculously overpriced, and I will probably never buy it. But
which 3 are you missing? Just out of curiosity.
It's actually 4. I'm missing Cyborg, Golden Pharaoh, Orion, and Plastic Man. Orion and Plastic Man, at times, I can find them reasonably priced. I would give 40 to 50 for them. Now, I've seen them priced at like 75 and stuff, and I'm like, I'm not giving that for them. I'd give 40 to 45 to 50 to both of those. But Golden Pharaoh runs loose, missing his staff and everything else, over $200. I'm not giving that for it.
Wow.
And the Cyborg I've seen loose, packaged several ways, and I kick myself sometimes because I actually had the worst packaged card of that on the card still. And when I was getting rid of some things out of my collection to build another part of the collection, I actually they offered me so much for that one because they offered me $800 for that on the card. Wow. with the card actually taken, looked like somebody just crumpled it. Looked like your gung ho card and worse.
Oh wow!
And they actually were like, oh, "We'll give you $800 for that," and it was on a Spanish card. It was Super Amigos. And they were like, "We'll give you $800 for that right now." I was like, "All right, I'll do it," just because I was trying to do something else at the time. Now, loose, that figure can go somewhere around $500-600, and there's 2 different versions of him. One where he's fully chromed out, and one of them where they see painted more skin on him. And I think the fully chromed out one is actually less expensive than the one that shows the skin and all, because there was less of that one produced. But
I had the version with the skin when I was probably about 7 or 8, and I didn't respect the figure because of the fact that just say the Teen Titan.
Yeah,
I want a Superman. I want a Batman. Even fucking Robin. I did not want just a regular Teen Titan that, to me, that, I just, looking back, I'd like to keep myself in the house.
And I'll say my collection is not the most pristine. Some of these are ones I actually still had as a kid, and they're missing, like Martian Manhunter's missing his cape, doesn't stand up too well without a stand, and stuff like that. But I'm like, I had him, so I'm not giving him up, and I'm not buying a new version because that was mine. I bought some in later years. Like I had a Firestorm that was still in the package. I have 2 Dr. Fates just because I had gotten one loose, and I thought I'd lost him. I couldn't find him, and then I got one in the package because I won them within days of each other on eBay. So I was like, because I thought it was lost in the mail, and one arrived after the others. I should clarify that. So I didn't lose him. I thought he was lost in the mail, but so I was like, well, shit. After a week or 2, I was like, I'm gonna go buy another one, and I ended up getting 2 of them. So I've got 2 of him sitting in there. But yeah, I have all the league except for those 4 that they produced during that time.
They're good things. I still have a few, but nothing in comparison to you. But I still have a few of those myself. Those in Secret Wars.
Yeah, I don't have any more Secret Wars. I can't find any of those anymore. I mean, I can find them to buy, but I don't own any anymore.
I went on a spree on eBay a few years back, probably about 10 years ago, I guess, and I bought some They're loose, but they were incredibly mint. Everything's tied on them. The paint's there. Decals on the Doom. I got Doom, Magneto, Wolverine, and Dr. Octopus.
Yeah, I would like to have the Black Spider-Man and the Wolverine because I had those as kids. Them and Captain America I had as kids because I remember I used that stupid little sticker that would change that lenticular sticker shield. That's what I used for Cap's shield because I couldn't find his regular shield.
And how bad did they cheat us as kids when the Wolverines just got snap-on claws?
But that was still at the time that was the best they could do. I mean, come on.
Yeah, I guess.
It's either that or the old Luke Skywalker telescoping lightsaber that looks like he's holding a fleshlight.
But you know what? When Toy Biz did that with Wolverine, I just thought it was the coolest shit ever. But you could literally just.
Yeah, those are still some nice pieces too. But what was your number 4?
So my number 4, anyone knows me, I'm a huge horror fan. So my horror memorabilia is probably my number 4. I have I got a pretty good, I've amassed a good collection of that over the years. I have a couple of paintings that a friend of the show, Conroy, has done the paintings for me. So I have a painting of The Devil's Reject with Sid Haig's autograph on it. I really wanted to get it autographed by Mosley when we seen him, but I was scared to take it to the show. I have Freddy that is autographed, Freddy Krueger autographed by Robert Englund. I actually have some more stuff autographed by Robert Englund because I actually have a Freddy glove that's from Part 3 that's pretty cool. I have a Nightmare on Elm Street painting of Heather Langenkamp dancing, signed by her. I met the entire cast of Night of the Demons at a con, and just before COVID, actually. It was literally the last Days of the Dead they had before COVID shut the world down a month later. So we got to meet the entire crew of cast of Night of the Demons, including the director. They were all super cool. So I had this thing signed by everybody, and then I framed it. And it's a pretty nice piece. It actually sits in my bedroom. One of the few pieces I was expecting my fiance to tell me to get the fuck out of the bedroom, but she didn't. I think she knows I'll try to put it in the living room. But I have that. I have a Jason mask signed by 3 really cool people to me. I got it signed by Tom Savini, the creator of, the OG Jason. Plus, he done the effects on so many movies throughout the years. It's just ridiculous. He was really cool to meet. Then I got Kane Hodder autograph on it. And my story of getting him the autograph was super cool because we went to his table. He wasn't there. So I'm kind of walking around the con and I spot him off in the distance. But you don't want to seem creepy. You know what I'm saying? So I'm just kind of standing there, I got my hockey mask in my hand, and I lose him on my peripheral. The next thing I know, somebody snatches my damn hawk out of my hand, and I'm about to turn to get pissed. It's Kane Hodder. He just snatched it out of my hand, and he went walking off. And I was like, whoa. And he said, oh, I guess you want this back. I said, yes, sir. I was actually looking for you to get you to autograph it. And he looks at it, and my 3rd autograph is on there already, which is Derek Mears' super, super sweetheart. He is signed in the place that Kane wanted to sign. He said, what the fuck, man? You give him the premium real estate on here? I said, I saw him before I saw you. I mean, you wasn't at your table. He's like, that's fucked up. So now I'm just, leftovers. And I was like, ah. But he was super cool. And like I said, the other was Derek Mears. Super, super nice guy. He's like if you ever see him at a con, go out of your way. He will talk comics with you, Swamp Thing, Predators, anything with you. And you'll have to remind him he has people in line. Like they do. I stood there and talked to him for probably 25 minutes. Easily. And it was finally like, dude, you got a line here. I felt like an asshole, so. I've got a Candyman signed by the man himself, Tony Todd. And probably one of the cooler pieces that's pretty rare. I got a Hellraiser laminate configuration. And on one side of the box, I have Doug Bradley, Pinhead. And the other side, I got the father of the Hellraiser saga and Candyman and so much other stuff. Nightbreed, Clive Barker. So
yeah,
that's some of the stuff. Yeah, that's some of the stuff that I would be incredibly on dire times to get rid of.
Yeah, well, my next part is very similar to that too. These are some, I'm not gonna say they're unique because they're everywhere, but it's things that were very, very important to me, and they're not signed, but it's my Green Lantern power battery in my ring set. Like I have the Green Lantern prop replica, and I have the Yellow Lantern prop replica, and I love those. And I waited so long to get them. I wish I'd have got them sooner, but I tried to wait on prices to go down because those things were expensive when they came out, at least to me.
Yes, they were.
Now they're extremely nice and they're worth the money because they're heavy and stuff. I mean, I wouldn't use one of those as a. I see people using them all the time to walk around as a cosplay. I'm like, there's no way I'd take that sucker around. It's not that light, just to carry that all day long. But I also have the rings that they did as the Planet Krypton set, which were the metal rings, and that's a really, really nice piece. And it was a limited edition run. And I mean, I have the plastic rings of all the different color spectrum too, and those I couldn't get rid of any of it. It all flows together to me. But yeah, just to have those, those were a must-have for me, being such a huge Green Lantern fan. But that Planet Krypton ring set is probably, if I had to sit it down and say what's the nicest out of all of that set, would probably be those. Just the quality they put into those was amazing.
Those are cool. I remember those sitting on your shelves when you still lived there, and it was like, that was badass.
Yeah, they are, and they're limited to an X number of runs, and it actually tells you what number you have in there, all of them, and also, I mean, they're really nice. But yeah, that would be my next one, and then with that, I'll go ahead to number 5, and then I'll let you do, and then we'll go straight into the top 3 wanted ones. But since we talked about this earlier, and before I leave from it, forget it. My number 5 was well, I did have to pick out my favorite masterpiece, and I had to go with that Superion I have. He is not my favorite Transformer by far, by any means, but that whole set, just the way they made that combiner was really good. He's so mobile. He has so much life into him. As much as that sounds weird to say it about a toy, but it just has a presence and a life about it, and you can do so much with it, and he's so posable. Like my train combiners, I like the trains individually better than I do any of the aerial bots, but the combiner's not as nice, even though it's made by the same company. It's just a little bit more fidgety and fiddly than the Superion is. And individual wise, there's some other, like Ultra Magnus is my second favorite Transformer after Optimus, and I love that figure. I love the Optimus figure I have. A couple others like the Jazz that I have is amazing, but I don't know, that Superion just stands above all of them. The presence it has it's just up there. Now I will say, depending on how Fans Toys does their Fort Max body, because I have the headpiece for their Fort Max one. If they make a body that fits that head, that thing will have some awesome presence to it. Because the head alone is really nice.
I was going to say, it'd be as tall as Orin.
That's all right. Galactus has arrived at the house, and he's taller than some kids I know right now. He's 32 inches tall, so he'll have a buddy then.
I'm waiting on the unboxing video. I'm going to be honest.
I haven't been home. I haven't had a chance.
Let's just send Big Rob to your house. Give him your address, and he can go do an unboxing video for you.
He would be better at it because I'm not good at the unboxing. But with that was the last of my wants. I know you had, or that I might have. So what does your last have?
My final is in the same bracket as my masterpiece and third-party Transformers. I have a case that I didn't send pictures of, unfortunately, because it's just incredibly hard to get a picture of these in any kind of quality because the glass case I have them in, no matter how I do the lighting, there's always a glare or something. So
same here.
It's hard to get a picture of them things, but I still need a really good quality Prime because the Prime I have is the one that came out 20 years ago now. That's kind of what sparked my interest in getting the masterpiece figures and the third parties. But some of the cooler ones, I really, really dig the Megatron, Galvatron. Soundwave, when I got it, just such a cool, fun piece to position and play with. I got Starscream, Ultimagnus, Rodimus. I even got Evil Rodimus. Grimlock is probably one of the first ones I bought. And I got the King Grimlock version. Jazz is really nice. Cup. You put me on a few of these. It's just
I could, and if you have some more, if you send me a list, I know where a bunch of them are right now. locally.
Okay. All right.
So if you send me a list, I can go start looking for ones and give you prices on them. I know some of them are very well priced because they've already been opened and they're not holding the value as much anymore because they are making so many newer versions. Some of these are a little bit older. So I imagine it's people just swapping out for the new ones that are slightly better. But if it's not a major character, I will swap out some. Like I swapped out my blaster for a different one. But if it's not a major character, the value of swapping them out is not always worth it. So if you can buy an older one that's like, I like that one good enough, it fills the hole, I would do it.
I got two that I need to swap out. Now that's my Prime, obviously, and then my Devastator. My Devastator is the Hasbro one they come out with.
Oh yeah.
8 or 9 years ago, and he serves his purpose. I mean, because he's still about this tall, so he's still bigger than the rest of them. But it is Hasbro quality, so it is what it is. One of the pieces that actually surprised me for how cool and well done he was Ironhide.
Yeah.
And he was one of my favorites from the show. He looks really, really good.
I'm not as big an Ironhide fan. I like Ratchet better, but it's the same body build, just different heads and stuff.
They've done a great job with that. So that rounds out my pieces I have.
So why don't I go straight in? Because I'm going to go feed right off of your have into one of my wants is the remaining Masterpiece figures I don't have today to round out. Because I want all the American G1 ones from the show. I have gone into some more of the Headmaster ones that came out later that weren't necessarily in the show, but like Junior Headmasters and stuff. But that was just because I wanted them just to round out stuff. But I have some very specific like Defensor I need to complete. I've only gotten 2 of the 3 that X Transbots has released so far because the third one hasn't hit yet. It comes out either December or January. So like him, they haven't made a Copytron. I want the Fort Max body so I can have a huge Fort Max. I have the Hasbro Fort Max, but that's like, I'm happy to trade that out for an actual Masterpiece style one because those are not Masterpiece style. It was just filling a hole in their collection at the time. And there's some stuff in my Masterpiece collection that is Hasbro, like my Omega Supreme. Like, it's not worth the price to swap out. I love the character, but it's not worth the price. And the quality is not that much better in a Masterpiece one to trade that out. And they're no bigger.
No.
And Skylinks is the same way. I love Skylinks. He's one of my top 10 Transformers, but I would not buy the one that I've seen made in a Masterpiece style does not hold up to the Hasbro one because it was not very well. It looks great, but everything I've read is not very well put together. Like the tail and the head joints and stuff fell on it pretty regularly and all. I'm like, I
know what sucks sometimes when you buy these and they'll make certain sacrifices for whether it be the cosmetic look of the vehicle or the robot.
Yeah.
One of the two almost seems to sometimes sacrifice for each other.
Yeah, so I mean, like I said, there's not something I wouldn't swap out. Like I have the early Wheeljack just for an example. There's no reason I'd swap him out for a new one just to have one that looks almost exactly the same, just maybe a little bit better transformation. No point. But there's characters that I would. But that's my number one thing. It's just my missing pieces for my collection, and they're already doing Defensor. I've heard people talking about Computron. I know X Transbots is kicking off next year with their first Devastator piece. It's already been up for pre-order.
He is on list.
Yeah, so that would be my number one thing out of my top 3 of these. So what's yours?
Sticking with the same thing, a great quality third-party Devastator is a must for me. It's something that, like I said, hopefully it is obtainable, seeing as, like you said, X Transbots has got the first. It'll probably take me 3-4 years to get all of them. But, that is high on my list. Certain ones, like I really, really want a good quality Cyclonus. There's a couple of the bots I still need that, stand out to me. Certain ones, were, I guess, key.
Yeah.
So, I mean, there's a few of those. But, definitely a third-party Devastator.
Yeah. Well, like I said, X Transbots is doing theirs, and I guess they have. I don't know. I don't have any other combiners from them, so I can't speak to them. I'm getting their Defensor, but we'll see how that goes.
Who it is that put out the Devastator called Hercules?
That was a Toy World one, and that's probably the best version out there of it right now.
That one looks really, really great.
I would tell you that, as much as I watch the reviews and stuff on those, I would, If you don't have a Devastator and you need to fill the hole, sure. If you're not willing to wait for somebody to come along and make a better one, but it's not the best quality.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I've only seen images of it, and the images look great, but
it's from what I hear, it's the best of that out there right now, but it's not a great combiner in general. But again,
I'm about to finish out my Seekers, and I need a Wheeljack. For some reason, Wheeljack was always one that just, he was so cosmetically cool. Him and Jazz are like two of the coolest looking ones as a kid.
And Fans Toys is releasing their Jazz now, or it's up for pre-order anyway, I've seen.
Well, I have a good Jazz, and I want to say it's an X-Trans box maybe. But this is actually a really cool one. I forget who done it now, honestly. That's what's terrible, because I just buy them off the way they look. They're confident, looking great. That's what I go with. I'm not loyal to one third party over the other.
Oh, me either. I have the Mate Toys Jazz, which was the first, and as far as I know, the only one so far that actually rolls the doors down under the hood like he was in the cartoon.
Well, then that's the one I have, because the doors fold back on mine to where he looks like he does on the show.
Yeah, because the original toy version, the doors were out like wings, and that's how most of them have been made.
So what's your number 2?
My number 2 would probably be the remaining Green Lantern batteries, or I should say Lantern Power batteries I don't have, because they've made all of them. Green, blue, they made the entire spectrum. I didn't buy those when they first came out, because I was like, I want all of them, and they're the life-size prop replicas, but I don't want to spend what they want on them. I was like, I'll wait and see if I can catch them on sale, and I could with the green and the yellow one. Like, I gave less than $100 a piece for both of those. So I caught them on good sales and just people clearing out inventory of them. All the rest of those apparently sold very well, because I can find them all now. I've seen all of them now. Actually, the store that I was telling you I can get the Masterpiece, the one that I go to all the time and get stuff from, they had all of them in there recently. But all of them, except for the green and yellow one, are like $400 to $800 a piece, and I'm not paying that for them. So they're kind of unattainable just because I can't pay that for them. But if I could, they are attainable, and I know exactly where to get them. But even on eBay, these things are expensive, especially the black and the white one are not as bad, but the red, the orange, and the blue one are terrible. Now, I haven't really looked at the Star Sapphire one. I probably should just see what it's priced at, but I know the rest of those, like the blue one is like.
I almost feel like, and I almost sound sexist when I say this, but I almost felt that would probably be the cheapest of the bunch, just because a lot of mail collectors aren't real in for it.
I don't know. I haven't looked at it. I think the one I saw at the store I go to was like $400, but the blue Lantern battery was like $5 or $6. The black one was close to $8. I'm like, I can't in good conscience. If I win the lottery, sure. I can't in good conscience right
when
now.
these come out, we could have bought them for what, $250, something like that. I think it was. Yeah. And no one was at the time. You're like, man, I ain't spending that kind of money.
Yeah.
Now it's like.
Yeah. Well, now it's to the point where I'm not going to tell anybody if I win the lottery, but you'll know, because there'll be a rainbow of excitement at my house.
There will be signs.
So what is your number 2?
Title belts. There's 4 that I feel are a must. For me to die a heavy man in my collection, there are 4 that is a must for me. I'm not saying these are the last 4 I want, because there are many others that I always thought were really cool. Honorable mention, so to speak. But the must that I got to have is I have to have the WWF style Intercontinental Championship and Tag Team title. These are just. I have to have that to go with the Winged Eagle.
I almost had you a tag team one too, but they got it the day I left town for my last trip, which was like 3 weeks long, and I sent somebody that weekend looking for it. It was already gone, because it's the same third party that mine is. I was like, well, we could have been tag team champs.
Exactly.
We could have been.
These are 2 of the 4 that I have to have as a must. The other 2 are WCW. The big gold. I want a good quality, good big gold. And the lesser known Reggie Parks WCW World Championship from when Ric Flair took the big gold with him to WWF. Only a handful of people actually wore that title right there. But it was just such a cool championship to me. It looked great. I mean, only Luger, Vader, Sting, And Ron Simmons, I'm sorry, Ric Flair was the final guy to hold it. But these 5 men are the only people that held that title. So it's such a cool championship.
So that is the reason I didn't put any belts in my wants, is because that is actually one of the things that WCW one you mentioned is the last one that I would say that I have to have. And if I find a big gold one, I might would get it, but the one that I really want to get is that WCW one.
And if you don't follow him, go on Instagram. Follow Conrad that does all the wrestling podcast.
Yeah,
he has a actual podcast apparently on ad-free shows about title chase, and he's an avid title collector. And he has Reggie Park's son on there doing an interview with that title. They have the actual title there, and it's actually held up in some pretty good shape. So that's pretty interesting to anyone that's a wrestling nerd like myself.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a second on my list.
Just because that's the only one I had left, that's the only reason it didn't make my list. Like I said, if I see some other belts and I like them, I might go in for them. But that WCW one is on my list of I really need to get that one. But my last item is an easy one to do. It's just I can't decide how I want to do it, and it's a lightsaber. Like I've got a very nice hilt now, and it's one that you gave me, and I love it. But I want an actual like a Force Effects or Force Effects Elite lightsaber, or even a third party one that looks as good as those. But I can't decide what I want because I almost went in and pre-ordered that Luke Skywalker one that's coming out, the green one, because I love that. I love that hilt. The only reason I haven't is because I still haven't decided, do I really want to get somebody else's or do I want to go to the Disney park and design my own? Now, you can only design it up to so much, right? You only get so many pieces to choose from to do it. But at the same time, I can pick and choose what I want to put there and what I don't. But I have not gone in for one yet just because I haven't decided how I want to do it. And that Luke one, as much as I like it, it's still, I look at it too and I'm like, it's like, what was it, close to 200?
Yeah, easily. They're about 230 if I'm not mistaken.
And is it
in for it, but yeah, it's
is it worth it? Probably. Am I willing to go in and say, is it worth it out of my pocket? That's where I start struggling. Because
I will say that they come a long way with them. Just the only one I have is I have the Anakin, and I've had it for years, and it is the Force Effects, the original Force Effects, and it lights up and makes the sounds and has all the crashing. But it's the early versions. The rod doesn't come out.
Yeah, the new ones, the rod comes out, and actually they're actually a little bit better on the electronics and stuff now too. I mean, they sound better, they look a little bit better when you look at them.
Well, it's cool to me that way. If you watch Big Rob's video where he had raised, it opens up like it shows how it's closed. Yeah. It opens up and you slide the rod through. That was a pretty cool effect to me.
Yeah.
So that was kind of some of why I went in for Luke's.
Yeah, I thought about Obi-Wan's and Luke's both because they both got that Force Effects treatment. And I like Darth Revan's, but I always looked at Darth Revan's like, how the hell do you hold it? Because it's got these big pommels that come all the way down into the hand grip area.
But how cool would it be to build your own? I mean, they build all the way down to the crystal. You get this pick a crystal, correct?
Yes, I believe so. There's certain crystals that it might be a black one that you can't pick. You can only get a black one by going through the red bin, but you would have to. You reach in there and grab them at random out of the red bin, and if you find most of them are all red except for an occasional black one that's hidden in there.
See, that would be the only thing I wouldn't like is the fact that it's randomly what crystal you get. I want to select my crystal.
You can select the color of your crystal unless you do a red one. You should get a red one unless there's like one in so many that are a black crystal, so you can have a dark saber.
I got you.
But it's only in the red bin. The rest of them you pick whatever color you want. And the red one, you're picking red for the most part, but you can occasionally get a black one out of there. I think it's like one in so many.
I was on an assumption. I thought I heard somebody say that like your crystal chooses you, right? You had some bullshit like that, and it was like you were randomly given certain colors.
Not that I know of, but I haven't been there to do it either, so I could be wrong. But I haven't heard that. I've heard people say they pick their color.
If I got the gold crystal, I would be pissed. I don't want the piss saber. Sorry.
Oh, so I think
have that one in the mornings anyway. So
yeah,
my final piece is something I really kicked myself in the ass for not buying when it came out. But it is the Sideshow Collectibles King of Hell no-kill Ghost Rider in the final issue of Volume 2 where he's sitting on the throne and he has a fire crown.
Oh, yeah. That thing is nice looking.
I kicked myself in the ass. It was like $400 at the time. And I had just bought something else. I think it was around the time I bought my huge sideshow collectible Boba Fett. That's about fucking $700. So I couldn't really, go in for both. I was already committed to the one. And now I was like, I'll probably go to a con one day at a reduced price or something, because that is one of the fun things of going to cons is just going in and trying to work them down at a price. And I haven't seen it nowhere. I found it on eBay twice at a ridiculously high price, and I'm terrified of shipping items like that from a third-party vendor. I buy from a reputable source, but so that is one of my obtainable grails.
Yeah, I can feel you on that one. But with that, I think that brings us through all of the stuff that we have and the ones we won't. So again, if anybody wants to share comments on any of our stuff or ones that you have, feel free to do that in the comments. But with that, we'll move straight into Nerd Out, which if you haven't been here before, this is where part of the show where we ask random questions related to the topics of the day. We have no prep time for answer because we don't share our questions usually. Every now and then I mess up and send it on an agenda. I did not this time. I remembered it.
I looked twice to see it.
But we'd love to hear your comments on these two. So if you want to expand on our answers to the questions, or you have your own Nerd Out question you want to ask, or you just want to give your answers to what we asked, feel free to do that in the comments as well. So Hassel, I don't know if you had any questions prepared this week. I actually do have one, and it's a two-part question. So you wanna go first? You want me to go first? You want to flip a coin?
I do out of fear that we have the same question.
All right, so you get to go first then.
So, what would be, in theory, your unattainable grail? Short of winning the lottery or having the power of influence over someone, what would be your unattainable grail?
Man, I'm going to say this because I said it as individual pieces above, but I'm going to say the unattainable is probably having all of the Spectrum power batteries, just because I don't have the cost of all of them. I might get one or two of those, like I mentioned, because they're going for somewhere $400 to $800. So maybe I save up or I get come across some extra money or something and get one as a splurge buy, but I don't think I'll ever have all of them. So I'd have to say the entire collection of them would probably be the unattainable thing. And I know that's kind of a cop-out because I use them up above, but still, I just, it's either that or an actual title belt that's, actually been used somewhere or something, because I don't see those.
If you go Pillage Conroy's stash.
Yeah. So what would be yours?
Dude, I want something that would probably be not suspected coming from me, but I would like to have the actual official prop of Han and Carbonite.
That's different.
I would love to be able to just, have a Manroom that when you walk in, this son of a bitch is in the corner, mounted on the wall, like this with some, you get neon around it, showcasing it up. I've seen a few mock-ups, I guess, and it all just looked really, really neat to me. So, I thought about horror props, but you can actually buy some of that stuff at a pretty reasonable price, even screen used stuff at a pretty reasonable price. I just feel like that would be one of the ones that would be very unattainable, short of you having the power of suggestion over Sir Lucas.
Well, I can say one more unattainable one too that I didn't say just because it's unattainable now, literally now because of deaths. But I would have always liked to have had. I think I wanted a Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, the movie, the original movie, and I would have loved to have had a poster, like a perfect poster of that one that's not crumpled up, tore up, or seen aging, signed by all the original Power Rangers, including the original 3 who left the show. Like anybody who'd been on Mighty Morphin, I would like to have had sign it. But for one, you're never going to get Tweety Train because she had passed away long before that stuff became a thing. And now you couldn't get JDF on there with the rest of them, even if I got the rest of them. Because I've got stuff signed by all of them, but except for the original Pink Ranger Kimberly. She's the only one I haven't met and had a signature from besides Tweety Train. But you're never going to have all of them sign one thing now because I had it all on separate pieces.
That is actually, wow. Okay.
Yeah,
So
and that's kind of a somber one, so I didn't want to throw that one out there because it's so somber, but I couldn't let it go now. So my question was this: so most of the stuff we've talked about for Grails is collections and your toys, comics, things like that. What we didn't really touch on was, and I know this is a big deal for me, maybe not as much for you, but like we didn't touch on viewing stuff like movies, DVDs, things like that we couldn't do without. So I got a two-part, and you're limited to 3 on each, but what's 3, and you can tie some if you need to put something together as a set, but what's 3 things that 3 movies or DVD sets you couldn't do without, and the 3 that have not been made or that you have not bought? This can be stuff that's not made as well that you really want to have in your collection.
Ooh. Is it 3 that you can't do without and 3 that you would desire even if they aren't created?
Yeah. Yeah. If you need a minute to think, I can run through mine if that will help you out.
Yeah, I'm more deflect and let you go.
All right. So for ones I own, I said my Transformer box sets. I've got the whole G1 series on the box set. I've got Beast Wars and all as well, but and this was hard to decide because I said I'm gonna limit it to just one of those because I got Thundercats, G.I. Joe, Silverhawks, Brave Star, Mask. But if I had to pick out of those, which one would I go for the most would probably be my Transformer ones. Now I hold this other set separately just because it is similar to Transformers, but because of certain other things involved in it, my He-Man and She-Ra box sets, including my Christmas special. And the reason I put them separate from the rest of them is because every year our Christmas tradition is to watch that Christmas special. And my runner-up thing would have been my Mickey's Christmas Carol because Oren and I watch that every year as well. So I could not give those up just because that's a Christmas tradition for us. And if I'm going to have the He-Man She-Ra Christmas special, I want the whole box sets. And I have the whole box sets of both of those series as well. And my last own one, and this was hard because I was torn really hard, but I just could not give this up. I said Avengers, Infinity War, and Endgame. As much as I wanted that to be Star Wars or maybe even Spider-Man, No Way Home or something, that Avengers, Infinity War, and Endgame is the first time we got something like that. It's a whole universe crossover teaming thing that just ended on that scale. Now, the first Avengers kind of brought that together first, but not to the same scale as those two. Now, my want list is a little bit different. The only one of these in the want list has actually been created. It's the Supernatural box set. I do want it just to have it because if they ever stop showing it on Netflix, I won't be able to watch it again. But I just don't want to pay what they want for it because they ask way too much for it.
It's just up there. It is up there.
I've seen it go on sale a couple of times, especially now for Black Friday. It's probably like $170 versus that $200 or something. But still, I'm like, I still don't want to give that much for it either. I might give $100 for it, but that's about my limit. My other two though are 2 cartoons that have never been put on DVD. And that's Dinosaurs and Visionaries.
Ooh.
Especially the Dinosaurs. I need that one so bad.
Man, it's a good day when you get Dinosaurs theme stuck in your head.
I'm gonna find a way to work it into every show so it's stuck in your head now.
Dude, that's what it's the one thing I don't get upset about. Because now I'm sitting here just vividly hitting them notes.
That dude, when he gets to the last Dinosaurs, he gets so excited. He puts that little reverb in
it. I will say there are a few episodes on YouTube, and you can stream them to your TV. So not many, but there are a few complete episodes.
They're not completely unwatchable. I just want to have them on a set so I can. And I always come back to having sets of stuff sometimes or movies because streaming is great, but the internet does go down, especially if you have Spectrum.
I was literally asked about this just about a week ago because when I had to do away with the Manroom to when we merged homes, I dispersed shit throughout the house. Yeah. So I have a couple of DVD racks still. I'm old school like that. And I have like
4, so
I heard my son who were like, why do you have that stuff? You just stream it somewhere. I said, aha. I said, how often do you go to Netflix? Something's been taken off. Or you go to HBO Max. Or you see that list of things, it's like leaving soon.
Yeah.
But it's a list of shit you like. You know it's coming back at some point, but what if you decide you want to watch that tomorrow and it's gone?
Exactly.
Or the internet goes down because you have a storm and it takes 2 weeks to get the internet back up.
Or there's certain things that just aren't out there on streaming anywhere either, unless you're going to pay for them. Like I can go pay on Amazon Prime for Transformers the movie and watch it, occasionally or whatever. But I have 2 different versions of that disc sitting in my house. I'm like, I ain't got to pay for it. I originally bought that, but I can just pop it in.
I'm the asshole that has the original version on DVD, Blu-ray version, and then I bought the 4K version.
Yeah,
on Amazon. So
I have 2 of those as well.
I had it on VHS up until about 10 years ago, and I gave it to my son. And he still actually has it. He sent me a picture of it not long ago, and I was like, "Oh shit, I'm proud of you, kid. You still have that."
Yeah, but I mean, there's certain things you can't find out there on some streaming platforms. I don't know, Visionaries and Dinosaurs, they're not anywhere. If I had a box set, I could sit down and watch them.
There you go. Well, one of the things I won't say is my keeps. The original Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. You're not finding that on streaming. But I have the Turtle Band that has all the seasons in it.
Yeah, see, that's nice.
That actually is our sponsor of the Zone Collectibles, Kevin. He actually hooked me up with that a couple of years ago. He had a price on it too. So, yeah. But moving into my 3, I got to keep my G1 collection of Transformers, obviously. I have all the seasons of that. So that's a must. I would probably go my Friday the 13th DVD collection. I have them. That would be something that I just couldn't part with. And my Star Wars Blu-ray collection. I got all the box set that has all of them on Blu-ray, and then I got a Rogue One and all that. So
yeah, I've got all the Star Wars movies on Blu-ray, but they're not in a box. They're all individually packaged, but still, I only passed them over just to pick Avengers. I knew that was a tough one, but yeah,
it is. As far as something that I don't have. And I'm staring off at my DVD section. Trying to. That's a toughie, man. I'm going to be honest.
Yeah, it is.
But I would probably like to have a really cool, and I'm sure it's out there, Doctor Who DVD set that has just everything.
That would be nice.
I would probably like to have something like that. Maybe shaped like the TARDIS. Bigger on the inside, you open it up and there's seasons. Maybe it stands as tall, you open the doors, seasons. That would be really cool. I have one half of this and I haven't ever bought the other half, but I'd like to have a nicer collection, a collective version, Silverhawks on DVD, I like Blu-ray. Something like that. For whatever reason, years ago, I remember Walmart just randomly had Volume 1. And it's like I have 30 of the episodes, maybe.
Yeah, I have Volume 1 and Volume 2, and I'm pretty sure I got Volume 2 off of Amazon, and it was very cheap.
Okay, we'll see. My number 2 is attainable because you've already named Dinosaurs, so I'm not going to name that.
Season 1, Volume 2 right now is on Amazon for $19.50.
Really?
Yeah.
So I may have to obtain that.
I think I bought it. They had a sale on it at the time. I think I paid like $14 for it, maybe. I know for the original one, I only paid it for the first volume. I only paid $11. But yeah, Amazon has a lot of that stuff go on sale regularly. I just keep a watch on them. That's how I got Brave Star. I got the whole Brave Star series for $12 off Amazon.
And I'm gonna kind of tweak and cheat on my third one. It is something that it has not happened. will not happen, and it's more of a PlayStation game versus DVD, but they're in the same. I want an actual 2K version of the Monday Night Wars, WCW versus the WWF. With not just the characters on there, because with community creations, you can have that. Right. I want actual the like cinematics and the storylines and certain things and actually play out a story like you have your creative level.
Like the race that they did on there this year.
Yeah, something along those lines there, where you can maybe relive certain key points of it, or then redo the invasion. Like I actually have an invasion storyline that it could have two different outcomes, whether you WCW or WWF, with actual people that would have mattered had they showed up.
Yeah, that would be nice.
So
that's actually a pretty good one.
Yeah.
But with that, I think that brings us to a close today. But before we leave, let's give us some shout outs to some of our friends out there. Mr. Daniel Garcia, creator of Zyper Ronin, which is on its way to everyone's hands in the very near future. You can find him on Facebook at D Garcia Comic, or no, that's Instagram at D Garcia Comics. Facebook is at Daniel Garcia. I'll get it straight in a minute. A friend of ours, Mr. Chris Daly, host of the Fuel by Weird podcast. You can find him on Instagram at Fuel by Weird, and on his podcast, where he discusses all things nerdy and weird and does some really great reviews of upcoming books and stuff. Content creator and autism activist, Miss Mandy Lynn, a.k.a. Kushi Mama, where you can find her on YouTube at Doodle's Toy Report or on Instagram at Kushi Mama. August Aguilar from Strange Film Studios. Keep an eye out for their new project, He Comes to Kill. I know it's fully funded, and I've seen some different stuff he's posting where they're showing some previews and stuff out there to different crowds.
I think they're hitting festivals now.
What was that?
I think they're hitting film festivals with it.
Yeah, that's what I meant. And then make sure you check out our extended Nerdy Manroom family member, Big Rob. You can find him on his channel at Big Rob's House of Entertainment and No Chinese Food, where he drops new reviews and unboxings and stories from the life of Big Rob that only Big Rob can share. And those are quite entertaining a lot of times. But remember, while you're checking all those folks out, too, to go check out our sponsor, The Zone Collectibles. You can find them on internet at thezonecollectibles@gmail.com, on Facebook at The Zone Collectibles, in their store at 305 Main Street, Tifton, Georgia. Visit them for all your nerdy needs, and also help them support the local artist community by supporting their cause of bringing unity through community. Fandoms unite. And with that, I think that brings us to an end today after all the shout-outs. Before we leave, though, we need to make sure we tell everybody where they can find us.
It happens. Well, obviously, if you're here, well, hopefully you're a subscriber of our YouTube channel. So you can find us on YouTube at the Nerdy Manroom Show. Like, subscribe, share, hit the bell, all that fun stuff. Share us. You can find us on Twitter at NerdyMR Show. You can find us on Instagram, where we're probably the most active at the Nerdy Manroom Show. And you can find us on Facebook at Hassel Hutchison via the Nerdy Manroom Show.
And with that, we are out, but join us here next time as we discuss Superhero Survivor Series. Until then, live nerdy and crusade for those grails.